Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? It's me, Melly Mel. I got a beard thing going on. Something that's been on my mind, man. I've been thinking about doing some YouTube videos and kind of talk about relationships and some of the experiences I've dealt with during this long journey of the thing you call relationships and baby mama drama, dealing with kids and having kids and kids living over on one parent and the lifestyle that they having with that particular parent versus, the kid not seeing the other parent. It's just a whole bunch of things that I think I have different perspectives on, different beliefs, and I think it's kind of time to share with the world. And I do want to get a YouTube channel and have people subscribe and give their feedback, commentary. And I've always been very shy about the internet because the internet is a very, very mean place. It's a very cruel place. And my theory on that is if you don't want anybody to talk about you or say anything bad about you, don't put anything up. And I've been very cautious about that. But in this world that we live in, the internet is a mean of communication, and you have to take the good and the bad. Some people are going to agree with you, and some people are not going to agree with you. Some people are going to decide to make fun of you, talk bad about you. It's at their discretion. But, I'm simply just a guy who's trying to deliver a message. And the message I want to deliver is, if anybody, if I touch anybody with my experiences, with some good advice, then I think it's a job well done. Whether it's one person, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people, 100,000 people, my message, my job, I felt like is well done. And one of the things I want to talk about is, children. When two people decide to part ways and there's children involved. One of the things I've learned during the course of this experience is that, somehow, some way, the children or the child, it doesn't matter, the focus on the children is lost. I think the parents try to make the situation about them and they forget about the children. And I think the children should be the focal point, should be the number one priority. And I think we tend to pull away from that because we let our own personal feelings get involved. And then the kids, they just fall by the wayside, and eventually when we decide that we're going to get to the children, it's, we'll get to them. And that bothers me. It bothers me because these kids have feelings. They have emotions. They don't know how to deal with the emotions. And one of the things that I've always tried to cope with this is put myself in that situation. We all was children at one time, and the things that went through our mind and curiosity. Some of us have experienced some of us have experience with having both parents in the household, which I did, and some of us have a single parent household experience, which I can't relate to because I didn't experience that. But nevertheless, as a child, a lot of things that did happen, I had questions. I had concerns, and there was things that was pondering within my own mind. So just imagine a child who's dealing with a single household. The father's not around, and they're primarily with the mom. And then you got all this other stuff going on, and the father's not around and stuff like that. So just imagine what that child's dealing with. Not only at home, but at school, when, there's certain activities like a concert or a play, and mom is there, and everybody else have mom and dad, and that particular child does not have a dad show up or of that nature. And, I think a lot of us, we kind of like look over that and just say, well, dad's not here because of it. You think that an excuse of why dad is not here suffice. In reality, it doesn't. It just kind of like put a bandage on the situation at that particular moment. And then now you have a child who's growing up with a bit of resentment or anger or a disconnect. And that is the pattern that we're dealing with in this new generation. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I kind of partly blame that on the system, and I blame it on the system because the system is broken. We have a lot of households where you get a woman and a man, and the mom decides to part ways, and all of a sudden you get on government assistance, or you're filing for child support. And sometimes child support is not necessarily it's not necessarily needed. I think sometimes women just decide to do it out of spite, and I think that is very unfortunate, because now you create a rift between two parents, and then the child's right in the middle. And that is very, very, very disheartening, because now the child gets robbed of a father or a mother. It goes both ways, okay? I'm not just going to sit here and advocate men on just one side, because that's what particularly pertains to me. It goes both ways. Some men take the child and do the same thing a woman would do. And I am, by all means, not promoting any of that, because I always think the concern is for the child first. But my general message is we as a people need to start stripping and stop giving the government, the courts, power. It's like, you're giving the courts power of attorney over your children, their well-being, how much money they get, and stuff like that. I honestly believe that we as people need to take that back. Just learn how to communicate. Use social skills to effectively communicate between you and your spouse. If a divorce or a breakup shall occur, you guys should sit down as adults and be able to hash out your differences and set a game plan or some kind of constructive plan, which will allow you guys to both become parents, effective parents for the child or children. The one thing the kids need, kids need emotional stability. That's almost the number one thing that kids need, emotional stability. Aside from that, they need stability. They need both parents. It's no one parent is greater than the other. I just don't believe in that. Children need both parents to equally balance the emotional stability, and that's just how it is. And I feel like when we go to the courts, we give all that power away to the courts. You have a judge who don't know your child from, don't know your child at all. Don't know the father's character. Don't know the mother's character. And yet, you know, he wants to decide sanctions on what should be done, what this should be done, and that. And it kind of hurts the whole situation. The child gets robbed, father gets robbed, the mother gets robbed. You know, and what I mean by that is that the child loses out on the parent. You know, the mother does not have the opportunity well, the mother has the child, but there's certain things a mother can't teach a child, you know. And a lot of guys are on child support with these ridiculous amount of money they have to pay. It almost makes no sense. But the woman has to understand you can't have it both ways, okay? You cannot want a child's father to be there full time, yet he has to pay you child support full time. He has to be at work to make the money to pay the child support. So him being there is not feasible because he has to be working to be able to make that money to get you that money. So that's an issue within itself because the amount so ridiculously high, it's no way unless you're making great money where you can devote when you could devote time to working and then, you know, set time out for your child. Now, people who's listening will say, well, you make time for what you want to make time for, and that is absolutely true. That's absolutely true. But in hindsight, it goes back to this: if you communicate with the other spouse and you guys decide to work things out, it's a benefit to everybody because now, you know, a man will be more willing, and he will always be willing to help, come around, spend money, and not think about it. Money, when it comes to child support, especially for men, it's just, it feels like a burden because now you having somebody tell you you have to pay X amount of dollars, X amount of dollars a month for your child to be taken care of. And you don't want that. You know, you should be able to say, you know what, whatever I have, I'm going to spend on my child. It shouldn't be a dollar amount on my child. And then you have some guys who you know, who are so angry that says, you know, if your child need this, well, I pay child support. That should be able to take care of that. You know, and then you have other guys on the right who says, you know what, yeah, I pay child support, but if my child need X, Y, and Z, I'm going to get my child X, Y, and Z. And that's just the way it is. But like I always say, child support, man, is a touchy subject. It's a very touchy subject because everybody have a different spin on child support.